Good morning. We will pay attention to creditors' reconciliation today. We will record all the entries with a specific creditor in our creditors' ledger. At the end of the month, we will receive a statement from the creditor in which he recorded all the entries in their books. Now remember, in our books, a creditor is a liability, and that means we will record the increases on the credit side and the decreases on the debit side. In the creditors' books, we are a debtor to them, so they will record increases on the debit side and reduce the amounts that we owe them on the credit side. Therefore, entries in our books on the credit side will appear on the debit side of the statement, and entries on the debit side of our creditors' ledger will appear on the credit side of the statement that we receive from the creditor. We will start our creditors' ledger with the closing balance at the end of the month and the closing balance that we receive from the statement in the books of our creditor at the end of the month. So if we look at those two figures, we can see immediately there's something wrong because the two figures are not equal. We will compare the creditors' ledger with the statement to find out where are the differences. Willem Traders recorded discount of 300 on a payment of 4,000 Rand on the 6th of April. Many suppliers did not allow discount because this payment was not received in time. So in our books, we showed this discount of 300 on the debit side, indicating that our outstanding debt reduces. We have to add it back now on the credit side because we did not receive this discount. So it means actually in our creditors' ledger, we will credit the creditors' ledger with a 300 Rand. An invoice for 8796 received from many suppliers was recorded correctly in the creditors' ledger. That means that we didn't make a mistake. They made a mistake and they recorded it as 7896. So if we look at the two figures, we have to subtract it from each other to see what is the difference. The business that made the mistake will have to correct it in their books. Because we corrected it correctly, it means that our creditor, many suppliers, will have to go and correct it in their books. They recorded the amount too low, so therefore they will increase the amount with 900 Rand in their books on the debit side, indicating that we owe them more money. The statement of account reflects returns to the value of 712. The creditors' ledger reflects this returns as 512. It was determined that Willem Traders incorrectly calculated the value of the returns. So in this case, we made a mistake. Returns are actually more than the amount we recorded. So we want to show that we owe less money to the creditors. So we will debit our creditors and we will show that the amount that we owe the creditors will decrease with 200 Rand. An invoice for 1720 received from many suppliers was incorrectly recorded as a debit note in the creditors' ledger. That means that we showed this as a debit note, putting it on the debit side of the creditors' ledger, 1720. This was incorrect. So if I want to correct it, I first have to go and cancel this wrong entry, and then I have to record it as an invoice, crediting the creditors again with 720. So when an entry was recorded on the wrong side of an account, you will record it double to first cancel the original entry and to record the entry. We will therefore owe the creditor 3440 more. A direct electronic transfer of 4,100 by Willem Traders was recorded in the cash payments journal. The statement of account was dated the 25th. So it means that they didn't record this payment because it was after the date that they closed their books. So they have to show that we paid them 4,100 and they will in their books record it on the credit side, decreasing our account. Therefore, we will show that the amount on the statement must be decreased with 4,100. An invoice of 2,100 appeared on the statement of account. After further investigation, it was determined that these goods were not purchased by Willem Traders. So that means our creditor made a mistake recording an invoice on our account on the debit side 2,100. This entry was incorrect. It was not supposed to appear in our books. So if they want to correct it, they will have to correct it on the credit side to cancel this mistake. And that will reduce the amount that we owe them. So the amount will decrease with 2,100. A check issued by Willem Traders on 30 April for 9,000 after 10% discount was deducted appeared in the creditor's ledger but not on the statement of account. If we paid the total debt, we will pay 100%. We deducted discount of 10%. So we actually paid 90% of the amount that we're supposed to pay, and 90% equals 9,000 Rand. So if we want to calculate the discount, the one that we want 10 over the one that we know 90 times 9,000, and that will give us 1,000 Rand. Okay, we recorded both these amounts in our books. They haven't recorded it because they received this check after they closed their books. So they have to show that 10,000 must be recorded on the credit side to reduce our debt with the 9,000 that we paid and the 1,000 discount. So we will indicate that the amount must decrease with 10,000 Rand. Then we will determine, after all these additional entries were completed and the corrections were made, we determine the closing balance, and if there's no more wrong entries, it means that these two totals must be the same. If you think of the creditor, it means what they record in their books must be the same as what we record in the books. The only difference is that sometimes we already recorded entries that they still have to record because they close their books before the end of the month. And secondly, there's a possibility of mistakes that must be corrected in the books of the business that made the mistake.